feelings, our values, and in our relationship with others. There's a considerable literature on the problem and nature of caring, but it often leaves unclear whether caring should be considered a goal-oriented activity, aiming for a particular outcome, or simply a set of virtuous traits in caregivers, or a type of relationship of one person to another. I believe that to be meaningful, caring must have a goal, both general in nature bearing on what we need as human beings and what we need as particular individuals. If we are treated only as needy human beings, independent of our particularity, the caring may fail. We will not get what we particularly need. Yet if only our particularity is addressed, our sharing in the human condition may be slighted. One way or another, however, caring cannot be unguided without goals. Otherwise, it is likely to miss its mark, not giving us what we need, and after all, that is the point of caring. But the importance of a goal for caring comes out most strikingly when the particularity of a patient calls forth the caring. When we try to understand what kind of caring a patient needs and the caregiver then seeks to provide. I can do no better to bring out this point, however, than to cite some passages from writers who have caught far better than I what might be called the particularity of caring. I will begin with a passage from Tolstoy's masterpiece, The Death of Ivan Ilyich, a story not only about the coming of death, but of the failure of those around Ivan to give him what he needs. Quote, "What tormented Ivan Ilyich most was the deception, the lie, which for some reason they all accepted, that he was not dying, but simply ill, that he only need keep quiet and undergo a treatment, and then something very good would result. This deception tortured him. They were not wishing to admit what they all knew and what he knew. The awful, terrible act of dying was, he could see, reduced by those about him to the level of a casual, unpleasant, and perhaps an almost indecorous incident. And this was done by that very decorum which he had served all his life long. He saw that no one felt for him because no one even wished to grasp his position." While this passage hardly requires an interpretation, I would note how brilliantly Tolstoy underscores the essence of caring, the need to have one's position grasped. This takes imagination, empathy, and what Ivan most wants, a willingness of others to accept the truth. In his essay, Imelda, the Yale University surgeon Richard Seltzer gives us a different kind of caring, this time coming from a distinguished surgeon who was well known for telling the truth to his patients. Quote, "With the patients, he was forthright. All the facts laid out, every question anticipated and answered with specific information. He delivered good news and bad news with the same dispassion." Yet in a case which Seltzer recounts of another surgeon, the surgeon loses on the operating table a young girl about to undergo a procedure to repair a terrible cleft lip and palate. Knowing the importance of the operation of the girl's mother, who could accept the death of her child, but not the thought of her child entering heaven with such a horrible disfigurement, the surgeon later returns to the corpse and repairs the lip and palate. Dr. Seltzer wishes that he had told the surgeon what it took him some time to see, that this unrealistic act was one of goodness, one of those small, persevering acts done perhaps to ward off madness, like lighting a lamp, boiling water for tea, washing a shirt. Caring, I would say, extends beyond the patient, in many cases, to that of the patient's family, and can extend no less, as in that case, to someone who is dead. All it takes is an act of goodness. Finally, I would cite a splendid passage by the American sociologist Arthur Frank about his own deadly illnesses, a heart attack followed almost immediately by cancer, and about the kind of caring he thinks most important. Quote, "Most people who deal with ill persons do not want to recognize the differences and particularities because sorting them out takes time. Even to learn what the differences are, you have to become involved. Generalities save time. Placing people in categories, the fewer the better, is efficient. Each category indicates a common treatment. One size fits all. But treatment is not care. Treatment gets away with making a compromise between efficiency and care by creating an illusion of involvement. What makes an experience real is particulars. One person's anger or grief may differ so much from another's that calling them by a common name only obscures what is actually going on for each. It takes time for an ill person to understand her needs, and being critically ill means never being able to keep up with your own needs, end quote. By its emphasis on particularity, Professor Frank says what most needs to be said about caring, that it is caring for this person at this time with this condition in this social or family situation. He also notes a point often overlooked, that while the ill need caring, they may not themselves know what kind of caring. Thus, we are forced back to an important insight about caring. There are many ways of caring and many ways in which patients need caring. A smile may give a patient what he needs, just as a touch may do so. But then again, that may not do it. We need to know just what a patient most needs and what it is in our relationship to that person, what it is that it is in us to give. That is a healthy demand, one that a casual use of the term caring, common enough these days, does not quite capture. It can be easier than most people think some of the time, but much harder some of the time as well. Determining what is demanded of us is the difficult part. Our vulnerability takes many forms, as does the vulnerability of those who care for us. Nothing can finally rid us of our fragile situation in the world. That we must experience alone. But it is caring, well and properly given, that can make it more endurable. As those in chronic care know, it has not been easy to get the value of palliative care accepted, much less well-funded. Progress has been slow. There always seem to be higher budget goals, mainly in acute care medicine. Care remains a second-class citizen in medicine, and palliative care is still in the lower tiers of medical subspecialties. But I hope I make some sense in saying that its greatest future lies with chronic care. If chronic care is effectively improved, with the important help of palliative care as a central actor, then the much-needed shift from cure to care, righting a balance that has long been lost, will mean a shift of great importance in modern medicine. Thank you.
Grazie a Daniel Callahan per questa lectio magistralis che ci ha dato questa overview, come ci potevamo ovviamente aspettare da lui, che di queste cose ha saputo trattare in maniera eccellente nei suoi libri. Tra le altre cose ha introdotto, e questo così è giusto una piccola considerazione che mi sembra doverosa oggi, ha fatto un accenno a Ivan Illich. E Ivan Illich, la citazione di Ivan Illich era una delle citazioni preferite di Marcello Tamburini. Mi ha fatto ricordare Marcello Tamburini, che è l'altra grande mancanza che abbiamo oggi. Ci manca Ventafridda e ci manca Marcello, che purtroppo sono scomparsi quest'anno. Quindi mi sembrava giusto, e penso che sia giusto anche fare un applauso a Marcello. Ovviamente perché è stato un grande amico della Fondazione Floriani e un ottimo collaboratore della Fondazione Floriani. E poi sono emersi due questioni che sono alla base delle nostre problematiche di oggi, non solo in Italia, direi a livello internazionale. Il problema dell'integrazione, come dobbiamo integrarci a tutti i livelli se vogliamo ottimizzare le cure palliative, e ovviamente la problematica dell'allocazione delle risorse e molto altro, perché di carne al fuoco ne ha messa veramente tantissima. Io devo fare qualche piccolo annuncio, visto che a questo punto è prevista una breve pausa. Allora, innanzitutto abbiamo un coffee break, che però sarà un coffee break permanente, nel senso che per tutta la giornata di oggi chi vuole e necessita di una tazza di caffè la può trovare offerta dalla Fondazione Floriani qui fuori. Vi comunico poi che il libro di Callahan e il libro di Bonadonna sono in vendita, per cui chi vuole lo può acquistare, e c'è la possibilità di avere materiale informativo e divulgativo al desk della Fondazione Floriani gratuitamente. Quindi vi Ci salutiamo adesso, ci rivediamo esattamente fra mezz'ora dopo la pausa caffè e riprenderemo i lavori con le varie presentazioni. Grazie.